He had a parole violation which he went and served and he's now come back. But in the intervening 3 years, he has not been indicted. The information that we had to begin with from the initial report sounded like the state could maybe place him in the area, and that was about it. I may explain why he hasn't been indicted, but he hasn't. He's released, Your Honor. He can go live with his sister.
Where does she live? Here in Macon?
She does live here in Macon. She does not live near the area that this shooting happened in. And additionally, there's a second suspect that I don't know the stats of that. I don't know. You know, we just asked the court to set a reasonable bond in this case. Mr. Lowery would deny any involvement in the part.
Okay. Ms. Linda, what's the factual basis for this?
For the charges? Well, officers responded to a shooting at around 11:30 p.m. on August 30th, 2012. The crime scene was across the street from the house in which the defendant was living at the time. He was fixing up this house right across the street. The defendant was working on the house with a friend named Shedrick Fry. His nickname was Sept on the day of the shooting. I believe that's the person Mr. Waller is referring to as a second person who might have been involved. Fry told the police that the defendant left the house at about 10 to 15 minutes before the shooting occurred, before he heard the gunshots. Fry also stated that he then heard gunshots and saw the defendant running back into the house. At that point, the defendant told Fry that they were, quote, shooting outside. He then told Fry, quote, I shouldn't have done it. The responding officers found two men laying dead in the house on Cohen Street. Llewellyn had been shot in the head, and Emery had been shot in the head and back, and he was also stabbed in the head, back, arm, and neck. So this was a gruesome murder, Your Honor. The defendant had visible scratches on his body when he spoke to the police. For an explanation, he stated that he had received the scratches while working with the victim, Emery, earlier on that day of the shooting. However, the state has various witness statements that contradict that statement made by the defendant that he was with Emery earlier on that day, because the victim Emery's mother was in the hospital. She had suffered kidney failure, lung failure, and heart failure. And that's where he was from the early morning hours of that day to about 5 p.m. After that, he left and went to his uncle's house until about 10 p.m. So there is no way that this defendant could have gotten those scratches on his body by helping the victim clean up the house, as he stated to police. A neighbor told the police that Fry and the defendant came to her house right after the shooting and asked her to stay there until the police left the crime scene. She stated that they were nervous and agitated, and they were pretty much banging down her door, asking, can we chill here until the police cleared the neighborhood. The defendant also asked her to go up to the crime scene and see what the police were doing. The neighbor stated that the defendant appeared really sweaty and really nervous, and that he asked everyone who walked by her house that night, quote, what was going on, what had been said, and had they got the search dogs out. That's what the defendant wanted to know. He was very interested about what was going on up there at that crime scene. The defendant told the neighbor to tell the police that he had been with her all night and all day on the day this incident occurred. So he asked a neighbor to lie and provide a fake alibi for him. One witness told the police that the victims, Llewellyn and the defendant, were gambling earlier that day. And the victim, Llewellyn, won about $2,200 from the defendant. The state believes that money played a role in this double murder, Judge.